We begin the Gemara today on Daf Kuf Yutes Amud Aleph, 3 lines down from the top of the Yamud. Omamar. The Gemara goes back to what was mentioned before in a Braise regarding the Meraglim, that the Meraglim did not take a portion in Eretz Yisrael. Their portion went to Yeshua and Kalev, and then the Braise says, Vahabonim, their children here, the Gemara quotes the Braise. Let's see. Omamar, the master said before in the Braise, Vahabonim, and their children, Notlu, they took a portion in Eretz Yisrael, b'schos avi aviem, in the merit of, in other words, a portion of their grandfather, or b'schos avi meisein, or in the merit of their grandfather, their mother's father. That's in a case where their grandfather did not have any sons, and the Yerusha went to their mother, and then they inherited that portion of Eretz Yisrael. But Vatanya, in a Braise we learned, b'schos atzman, that the children of the Meraglim, they took a portion of Eretz Yisrael in their own merit, that they themselves entered into Eretz Yisrael and got their portion of Eretz Yisrael for themselves. And says the Gemara, like Hashia, it's not a contradiction. The Braise before that says that they're getting a portion of Eretz Yisrael because of their grandparents, whether the father's father, the mother's father, is like the opinion that says, as we had before the argument about this, who is Eretz Yisrael divided for? For Yotzei Mitzrayim, meaning the ones that came out of Mitzrayim, they're the ones that are Zeiche in the Yerusha of Eretz Yisrael. So according to that opinion, the children of the Meraglim are getting a portion in Eretz Yisrael because of their grandparents that were from the Yotzei Mitzrayim. And and here it's according to the other opinion that says that the ones that came into Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael was divided for them. So the children of the Meraglim came into Eretz Yisrael, and therefore they got a portion for themselves. Now this fits with the Braise before. The Braise before is clearly going like the opinion that says L'Yotzei Mitzrayim, because the Braise there speaks about the Meraglim having a portion in Eretz Yisrael, and that Yeshua and Kalev received that portion. Now, obviously, the Meraglim that did not go into Eretz Yisrael, the reason they have a portion in Eretz Yisrael is because they're from the Yotzei Mitzrayim. So this is according to the opinion that says that the Yotzei Mitzrayim are the ones that Eretz Yisrael was divided for them. Or we could say that both Braises, this detail of that the Braise says that the children get a schos in Eretz Yisrael. So again, one Braise says that they get a schos in Eretz Yisrael b'schos the grandparents, and the other one that says in their own schos. So both of the Braises are l'boy yaretz. Goes like the opinion that says that Eretz Yisrael is being divided for those that entered into Eretz Yisrael. And it's not a question. In a case where they came into Eretz Yisrael, they were 20 years old, coming into Eretz Yisrael, so then they get b'schos atzman, because the age to Yarshin in Eretz Yisrael is from the age of 20 years old. And the other Braise before that says that they only got in the schos of their grandparents, is because when they came into Eretz Yisrael, they did not have any schus themselves to merit to take from Eretz Yisrael, because they were not 20 years old, and therefore they did not get a Yerusha in Eretz Yisrael. That's the pshat over here in the Braise. Okay, let me just go back a second and just clarify. When it says here habonim, we're speaking here about the bonim. We're not talking about the bonim of the Meraglim. What the Braise was talking about, the bonim, the children of the Mislainim, and so on. Okay. Now, the Rashbam clarifies that when it says that they were not B'nai Esrim, this is not talking about the children of the Mislainim, because the story of the Mislainim happened much before. And by the time they came into Eretz Yisrael, they were definitely above the age of 20 years old. The Mislainim, the latest Mislainim that happened in the Midbar, 38 years later, the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael, they were definitely 20 years old. So what does it mean when it says over here that they were not B'nai Esrim? It's talking about the grandchildren of the Mislainim. Their father passed away, their grandfather does not get a chelik in Eretz Yisrael, the Mislainim, and now their grandchildren, they were not yet 20 years old when they came into Eretz Yisrael. So b'schos atzman, they would not get a portion in Eretz Yisrael. However, according to the opinion that was brought before in the Braise, that even if they don't get Rab Shimon ben Elazar, if they don't get a portion in Eretz Yisrael in their own schos, they could still get a portion in the schos of their grandfather, or in this case it's actually their great-grandfather, the father of the Mislainim, that was from Yotzei Mitzrayim, and therefore they get a portion in Eretz Yisrael. That's the way that Rashbam explains this over here. Okay, let's go weiter. The Gemara quotes again from the Brisa before, V'shahaya b'choyer neitel shnei chalokim, that a b'choyer takes two portions. Okay, so this is actually going back to what it said in the Mishnah regarding the Bnei Slavchad, that the Bnei Slavchad got three portions in Eretz Yisrael. So the Mishnah said one was from their father, Tzlavchad, the other one was from their grandfather, Chefer, and from Chefer they got two portions because their father, Tzlavchad, was a B'chor. On this, the Gemara asks, why are they getting two portions? Roihu, this is something that is only in potential that their father would have gotten from their father, from his father, Tzlavchad, the B'chor, would have gotten from his father, Chefer. And the rule is, a B'chor does not take Pishnaim, doesn't take a double portion. If it's only Roi, it's not Muchsik, it's not something that his father already has when he passed away. And in this case, Chefer, when he passed away, did not yet have a Yerusha in Eretz Yisrael. So why would Slavchad get a double portion, and then B'nai Slavchad should yashin this double portion? This is a question the Gemara already addressed before. So Amar Rav Yehuda Mashmuel answers, when it says there that they got a double portion from their father Tzlavchad, the Yashin from his father Chefer, it's not talking about territory or land in Eretz Yisrael. Rather, it's talking about tents or the pegs of the tents, or for that matter, any other metaltal, any other movable items that was already in the possession of Chefer when he passed away, and Tzlavchad inherited this. So the daughters of Tzlavchad, Bnei Slavchad, got a double portion in this metaltal. So therefore, according to this, it would come out the pshat in the Mishnah is they got two portions of inheritance in the territory in Eretz Yisrael. When it says they got a third portion, that's only referring to metaltalin. Masav Rabbe, but Rabbe asks him this. It says that Rabbi Yehuda says, B'nai Slavchad natlu dalet chalakim. B'nai Slavchad got four portions in Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, Vayiplu chavlei Menashe asara, that there were 10 different portions of territory in Eretz Yisrael that was by Shevet Menashe. And this was already explained before in the Gemara, that 6 of these portions are for the 6 Batei Av of Shevet Menashe, and then another 4 was for the Bnei Slavchad. And here this pasuk is talking about a chevel, which is a piece of land in Eretz Yisrael, not about metaltalin. So we can't say that they're getting a double portion of the B'chai. It only refers to metaltalin. So therefore Rabbi explains, Eretz Yisrael muchzekesi. Eretz Yisrael is already muchzik for the Yotzei Mitzrayim. From then, it's already their Yerusha, and therefore they have that Yerusha from then. It's not considered to be Roy, it's muchzik, and therefore Tzlavchad takes a double portion from his father Chefer in the Yerusha and Eretz Yisrael. So Meisvei, the Gemara asks on this, Omer Rab Chitke, the Brisa says, Rab Chitke said, Shimon HaShikmaini Hoya Lichaver B'Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. I had a friend by the name of Shimon HaShikmaini that was from the students of Rabbi Akiva. This is what he said. Moshe Rabbeinu knew B'nai Slavchad Yerushasim. The B'nai Slavchad, they came to ask Moshe Rabbeinu the question about the Yerusha in Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu knew good and well the halacha about the B'nai Slavchad. He already heard it from David and Mara when he got the halachas of the dinim to judge Yidden and all dinim mamanis, and he knew this halacha as well, that they should be getting an inheritance. So Aval loyhoy yedeya im neitles chelik b'chayrim lav. The reason he didn't answer them is because he didn't know if they are supposed to get a chelik of b'chayra as well, in lav or not. Now another point. V'ru'uya haysa parshas nachlois li'kasav ayidei Moshe. It would have been fitting that the parsha of Nachlais, like all other halachas and mitzvahs of Torah, should have been written through Moshe Rabbeinu himself. If they wouldn't ask the question, then the Eibishter would command it, and it would be written by Moshe Rabbeinu. Ela shezochu b'nei Slavchad v'nichtav al yadam. B'nei Slavchad merited, and it was written through them, asking the question, and the answer was given for them. Similar, another thing. Moshe Rabbeinu knew the halacha sham mekoshesh b'misa. The mekoshesh was a person that was machal Shabbos in the midbar. Mekoshesh, according to one opinion, means he was gathering pieces of wood together, and they came to Moshe Rabbeinu to ask what should be done with this person that was machal Shabbos. So Shimon HaShikmaini says, be'emes Moshe Rabbeinu knew that he's chayiv misa. Shenemar mechalelea mois yumas. The pasuk already says earlier that one that desecrates Shabbos is chayiv misa. Aval loyhoy yidei be'ezem misa. He didn't know which misa this is. Is it skila or is it only chenek? Be'ezeh misa hu yamas. Now, another thing, like we said before, v'ru'uya ha'isa pashas mekaishesh etikasav v'ayidei Moshe. It would have been fitting that this parsha of Mekaishesh to let us know which misa of Machal Shabbos is chayiv should be written by Eibusha telling directly to Moshe Rabbeinu. Elo shenes chayiv Mekaishesh v'nichtava al yadai the Mekaishesh. He got this, that the negative thing about what misa Machal Shabbos gets was written through him. Lametcha, what both of these stories, the Bnei Slavchad and the Mekaishesh Eitzim, teaches Shemegalgalen, Schusay de Zakai, that the Eibusha sees it that a merit should come out through someone that's meritorious, and that's regarding the Bnei Slavchad, and V'chayvay de Chayiv. And regarding the Mekaishesh, the fact that you give the Einish of Skila, which is more stringent, that came out through the Mekaishesh Eitzim. This is the Braisa. Now, the question here is, if you're going to say Eretz Yisrael Muchzekes, that Eretz Yisrael is already considered to be as already inherited, already in the Chazakah of the Yetzi Mitzrayim, so then, Ma'ikam Estapkele. What was the suffix Moshe Rabbeinu had, whether the din of Bechayre applies over here to Tzolafchad, that's the Bechayre not? Why not? It's already Muchzekes, like we said, and therefore the din of Bechayre should apply. Answers the Gemara, it's exactly this point that he had a suffix about. Whether we say that for the Yetzi Mitzrayim, the Yerusha of Eretz Yisrael is like they already received it. And his suffix was based on the following pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'nesati Isa lachem meirasha ani Hashem." When Yidden were Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu says to them that Eibusha says, "I will give you the land to be a meirasha." So it uses the term meirasha. So there's two ways how to interpret this word. Either you could say, Yerusha hi lachem me'avisechem. This is an inheritance for you from your ancestors, from the Avis. So then, if that's the case, then Yerusha actually means that they already inherit this. So it's not Roy, it's Muchzik. The term Meirasha is used here to say that they are not going to end up going into Eretz Yisrael. Because of what happened later, the Chetam and Raglam, they're not going to end up going into Eretz Yisrael. They are going to bring that inheritance to their children to go into Eretz Yisrael. So maybe that's what it means. And therefore the term Meirasha does not say that they are already muchzik. Adrabah, it means that their children are going to yarshin. Or Pashtule, and it was answered to Moshe Rabbeinu that Tarvayu, but both of these interpretations of the word of Meirasha are true. Yerusha lechema v'seichem. Number one, the term Meirasha here means that it's a Yerusha, that they are already muchzik, and therefore the din of Bechayr does apply. The Gemara already learned this out before from what it says, V'havartem, as a nachla. So from that we know that the din of Bechayr also applied, that the Bnei Slavchad got that double portion of their father Slavchad. And also, Umeirishin ve'einen yarshin. And also that the pasuk is saying the term Meirasha to tell you that they are not going to end up going into Eretz Yisrael, but they're going to be Meirishit to their children. The Hainu D'chsiv, and similar, this is also what it says, that they will be brought and they will be planted in your mountain of inheritance. It doesn't say that we are going to be brought, they will be brought. Melamed, this teaches us, they use this expression, and the prophecy they're saying here is that they will go into Eretz Yisrael, and they didn't realize what they themselves were saying, that they are not going to merit to go into Eretz Yisrael. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to what it says in the pasuk by the Bnei Slavchad when they came to ask or complain to Moshe Rabbeinu. They came and they stood Lifnei Moshe, V'lifnei Elazar HaKohen, V'lifnei Nesiim, V'chol Ha'eda. They stood in front of Moshe and in front of Elazar HaKohen and in front of all of the Nesiim and all the Yidden, and they came to ask the question: why would you not get a Nachla in Eretz Yisrael? So the question is, it says first Moshe, then Elazar HaKohen, then the Nesiim. After, is it possible? Amdu Lifnei Moshe Chulu. They stood first in front of Moshe and V'loi Amru or V'loi Amar Lehen Davar, and he didn't answer them. He didn't have an answer for that question. And then V'amdu Lifnei Nesiim V'chol Ha'eda. And afterwards they asked their question, well, to Elazar HaKohen and then the Nesiim and then the other the Chol Ha'eda that's there. How could it be? If Moshe doesn't know, what's the point of afterwards saying that they also asked the question to Elazar HaKohen and so on? Ela, so the Gemara says, Soras HaMikra V'Darsheyu. You have to switch around the words of the pasuk that really first they asked by the Nesiim, then Elazar HaKohen, then they came to ask by Moshe Rabbeinu. Divrei Rabbi Yeshia. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yeshia. Abba Chanan says, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, the Beis HaMedrash Hayu Yoshvin, they were all sitting together in the Beis Medrash, V'holchu v'omdu lehem lefnei kulan, and the Bnei Slavchad came and stood in front of all of them together and asked the question, by all of them, in the presence of all of them together. That's what happened over here. But they didn't ask the question to Moshe first Moshe and then afterwards Elazar and so on. Says the Gemara, B'mai kamiflagi, what's the basis of their machlekes? Mar sovar chelken kavod l'talmud b'mokim harav. According to Abba Chanan, we give kavod for a talmud in the place of the teacher. And the reason is because the whole kavod for the talmud is because of him being on such a great level, because he learned Torah from this teacher. So the kavod to the talmud is really also a kavod for the Rav. So therefore, according to Abba Chanan, they came and stood in front of all of them together, which means that they're giving kavod not only to Moshe Rabbeinu, but also to Elazar and the Nesiim, which are the Talmidim of Moshe Rabbeinu, because you give a kavod for the Talmud, b'makom Rav, that itself is a kavod for the Rav. But Umar Sabar, according to Rabbi Yeshua, ein chalkin kavod l'talmud b'makom Rav. You don't give any kavod for the student in the place of the teacher, and therefore it must be that you switch the order in the pasuk. They asked first the Nesiim, then Elazar, and then they came to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the machlokes here. The Hilchase, the Gemara first brings the halacha is chalkin, that you do give a kavod for the Talmud in the place of the Rav, and the Hilchase, the halacha is ein chalkin, that you don't give the kavod for the Talmud in the place of the Rav. So the Gemara asks on this, kasha hilchasa. So this is a contradiction. Who is the halacha like? Do we give kavod for the Talmud b'makom Rav or not? Says the Gemara, hilchasa kasha. It's not a question. It depends what the case is. The poligle rabbe yakara. If the teacher himself is giving kavod to the Talmud, so then he definitely is okay with the fact that others are going to give kavod to him in front of himself. Okay, so therefore, according to this opinion, Moshe Rabbeinu gave kavod to all the Yidden and to one another and so on. So therefore, they were able to come and give kavod to the Talmud b'makom Rav. So then the halacha is that chalkin, you give kavod to the Talmud, and the loy poliglei rabbi yakara. But in a case where the teacher is not giving kavod to the Talmud, then you may not give kavod to the Talmud in front of the Rav. That's the pshat in this machlokes. There's a sikha from the Rebbe Barichas about this Gemara, which is also brought in Rashi, both of these opinions, in Rashi Alatayra and Parshas Pinchas. Sikha is in Chelik Chav Gimel, in the first sikha, the Rebbe is Meirich over there in the pshat in this Gemara. So the Gemara weiter, Tana, we learned in the Braisa, B'nai Tzalafchad Chachmani Yisayu. The daughters of Slachchad were wise. The Ashani Yishain. They were able to expound on the words of the Psukim. Tzadkani Yishain. They were righteous. And the Gemara brings the source for all of them. Chachmani is saying, we see that they were wise. Shalafisha dibru, because when they came and asked their question about their nachla, they said it in a smart way, in the right time when Moshe Rabbeinu was discussing something that would prove their point. Because the Amar Rav Shmuel Rav Yitzchak Melamed, this teaches us, Shahaya Moshe Rabbeinu Yeshiv V'Derish B'Pashas Yevamin. Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching the Pasha by Yevamin. What does it say? Shanema ki yeshvu achim yachdav. And over there in the continuation of the pasuk it says, "Uven ein loy." If there's no son, then is the din of yivum that the brother marries the wife. So what's the taich over there when it says "Uven ein loy"? The taich there is not only a son. If this brother had a daughter, then there's no yibum either. So Ben is not only a son; it's a daughter as well. So based on this, they chapped arayin and they said, "Amru loy im kiben anu chashuvin." If regarding the mitzvah of yibum, we're like a son, then so then regarding inheritance in Eretz Yisrael, we should also be like a son. And in Lav, if you're going to say that we are not equivalent to a son, then Tisyabim imenu. Then our mother the mitzvah of Yibum should apply to our mother. Immediately, Moshe Rabbeinu brought the question in front of the Eibishter. So we see that they were chachmanis, wise. Darshani is saying they were Darshaniyis, Shahayu Aimrais, because they said as follows. If our father had a son, we wouldn't speak, we wouldn't complain that we want a portion of Israel, because they understood that a son takes a portion, and when there's a son, the daughter doesn't get. Now, but we learned in the Braisa Bas that they said if there would be a daughter, we wouldn't speak. What does that mean? How can we explain that here? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Sami Mikan Bas. You have to erase this Braisa that says a Bas. Abaye says, no, they actually were Darshanis, and they said as follows, Afilo hayu bas leben loidi barno. Even if our father Slavchad had a son and the son is not alive anymore, but the son had a daughter, we also wouldn't speak because they knew that the daughter is in the place of the son, like the Gemara already learned that before. That's how we see that they were Darshaniyas. Tzadkani is saying they were Tzadkaniyas, Shaloi Nisu El Haganlan. They didn't get married only to one that was fitting for them. What this means is that for that generation, the mitzvah at the end of Parshas Maseh was, and we had it before in the Gemara, that you should only get a woman that's inheriting from her father or mother should get married only to someone from her shavit, so not to take over from her shavit, that her husband, her son will yashin her then when she dies, and then the nachal will go to a different shavit. So they have to marry only from their shavit. But by B'nai Slavchad itself, they were allowed to marry Katoy, Latoiv, Beinein, whoever they wanted. That's what it says in the pasuk. They're allowed. The Gemara will later say they were allowed to marry whoever they wanted. But nevertheless, an Eitz Tov for them was also that they should still marry someone from their shavit, so the nachla shouldn't go to a different shavit. So that's what it means there, that they only married someone that was lahagan lahen. They waited to find a shidduch, someone from their own shavit, so the nachla shouldn't go out to a different shavit. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said about this, even the youngest one amongst the Bnei Slavchad, leinisis pchusa mi'arbaim shana, did not get married younger than 40 years old because she waited to find the right shidduch in her shavit. The Gemara asks on this, is this true? But Rav Chisda said, nisis pchusa mi'bas esrim. If a woman gets married below the age of 20, yeledes, she can give birth at shishim until the age of 60. Bas esrim, yeledes ad arbaim. If she gets married from when she's already 20, then she can give birth until she's 40. Bas arbaim, if she gets married when she's 40, shuveni yeledes, she can't give birth anymore. So how could we say that they waited until after they were 40, because then they wouldn't be able to give birth? Ella says the Gemara, saying they did get married after they were 40, but because they were tzadkaniyas, and this is the source that they were tzadkaniyas, nasale nes ki yechevet. A miracle happened to them like Yocheved that gave birth when she was 130 years old. And the Gemara here is bringing Yocheved, even though it should have brought from Sarah that gave birth when she was 90 years old, but it's bringing from Yocheved that was still alive at that point, and she gave birth in Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu, when she was 130 years old. This Gemara here brings the source. The pasuk by Yocheved says, "Vayelech Ishmi bas Levi, vayikach as bas Levi." So the question is, Efsher bas meya shloshim shana. She's at that point 130 years old. V'karala bas, and she's referred to as a daughter. How do we know that she was 130 years old? Because that her mother was pregnant with her on the way to Mitzrayim. V'noilda ben achaimis, and she was born between the walls entering into Mitzrayim. That her mother gave birth to her when they came into Mitzrayim, which means leidasa b'Mitzrayim. The birth was in Mitzrayim, but v'hairasa shaloi b'Mitzrayim. But the pregnancy was before she came into Mitzrayim. So v'mai karela bas. Why is she called a bas at this point? If now that means that she was 130 years old, because Yidden were in Mitzrayim for 210 years, and Moshe Rabbeinu was 80 years old when they came out of Mitzrayim. That means that she was born 80 years before the 210 years that they were in Mitzrayim. So at that point she was 130 years old. So why is she referred to as a bas? Rav Yehuda bar Zvida says, Melamed Shenel debas simani nidus, that at that point she got simonim as a young girl, Misadan abasar, the skin became young and fresh, Nispashtak matin, the creases in her skin were all smoothed out, and her beauty came back. That's the similar. This is what happened to Yocheved, and similar to what happened to Yocheved was also by the Bnei Slavcha that got married after the age of 40, but they were still able to have children because they were tzidkaniyos.